Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. The show where, just like you, we can't get enough sports.
The 47-year wait is over! And the Nuggets win it! Wilson throwing, it's up for grabs, and it's caught for the touchdown! And the Denver Broncos have taken Super Bowl 50. And the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions! And a shot into the back of the net for Diego Rubio!
Now here's your hosts, Arthur Knight, Larry Perkins, and Austin Sorensen.
1-0 Rapids. They are champions.
Yo. Welcome to the Sportz Phenz. I am Arthur Knight, and with me is LP Larry Perkins. We are coming to you live from, well, not live, we are recording live at 4300, West Alameda here at Sohi Cafe. Come by and holler at Vinny. Let him know you want some barbecue. Tell him the Sportz Phenz sent you. Make sure you get some of that home-style mac and cheese, the burn-ins, the ribs. We're at Sohi Cafe, like I said, and it features Viper Pit Barbecue. Tell him the Sportz Phenz sent you. All right, man. Larry,
what's up, man?
What's going down, man? I see you had to make sure you wore your Flaker stuff this week. Are you trying to poke the bear with a sharp stick? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing? Okay.
I sense big things on the horizon.
Oh, okay.
So it's time to get my fandom out.
Yeah, y'all sense that every year, and every year you are disappointed. But that's okay. We won't get into that. I'm messing. But neither one of our teams are playing right now, so let's talk about the teams that are playing right now.
Right.
Dallas gets pretty much manhandled by Boston. What was this? This was Friday night, right?
Right. At TD
107-89, and it wasn't even that close, really. Like, it really wasn't.
I mean, they made a little, in the fourth quarter.
They made a game. Well, I mean, in the fourth quarter it was 23-21, but they didn't make a game of it. Like, they
got their heads blown in first quarter when Boston made that 23-5 run, and then for the 6 minutes. And they just basically, that was it. That was the game right there.
Yeah, I agree. It looks to me like Boston controlled all quarters. Now, I can't tell, to be honest with you, because I didn't watch the whole game. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch the whole game. I didn't have time to.
Well,
but I did watch a good majority of it, and I did watch the highlights.
It was a sleeper.
But it looks like in the second half, Dallas kind of did figure something out. They were able – now, like I said, I don't know if – or like I was going to say, I don't know if it was more or less Boston kind of took their foot off the gas, which they do that sometimes, right? We've talked about that before.
Exactly.
So was it that they took their foot off the gas, or was it that, Dallas actually has figured something out?
That's a great question, and that's going to be answered in Game 2. That's the only way we can come to that assumption is in Game 2, and because they, like I said, they have a history, But in these playoffs, the Dallas Mavericks are great. The Jason Kidd is a great coach at that too. They read quarters well, and they prepare well. So
he's a champion. He's a champion, plus he was a point guard. Like, he was a general on the floor or a coach on the floor when he played, right? That was like his MO when he was a player. Is people's like, well, it's like having another coach on the court. So, yeah, you're right. He's going to have his team ready and prepared to play tonight. But still, the question still remains, if they come out, how are they going to come out in this game? Are they going to come out and they're going to jump right on Boston with what they figured out in the third and fourth quarter of game one?
They have to.
Or are they going to come out flat and allow Boston to go on another 25-8 run in the first quarter and then just keep their foot on their neck?
You're gonna see a different Dallas Mavericks team.
You would hope so.
Because if they don't, I mean, it's over, But I never was that optimistic about the series to begin with. But
well, it looks like Doncic is the only one that showed up in game one for Dallas. Like, if we're being completely honest. I mean, P.J. Washington had 14 points. Kyrie Irving was basically non-existent in my humble opinion. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals is not going to cut it, and Kyrie knows that.
That was unexpected.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we talked about that. Both of them had to play great, and they had to bring their bench along, or their team, the others.
Yeah, we said that. We said, like, they were going to have to play perfect basketball.
And Kyrie didn't. So
no,
they're not going to win a game if that doesn't come into fruition.
I agree. It looks like Jaden Hardy and Luka Doncic were the only ones that showed up. Because Hardy came off the bench, 13 points off the bench. I'll take that. I'll take that on the Nuggets all day. I mean, that's not really their sixth man. Josh Green only had 3 points. Kleber, I think is his name. Maxi Kleber, excuse me. 2 points. 2 points from Lively. It's they just didn't show up, man. Their starting 5 did not show up except for Luka, and Luka dropped 30 on him, but that was against Jason Tatum 16, Jaylen Brown 22, Al Horford 10, Derek White 15, Drew Holiday 12. Porzingis had 20 off the bench. I mean, Porzingis outscored the Dallas Mavericks' entire bench by himself. By himself, ladies and gentlemen, like basically outscored them by himself, or basically tied the point total from their entire bench. And then they did have a little bit of bench help from Hauser.
But they had a lot of easy buckets.
In the beginning of the game,
right? They was just, and the thing is, that's a few things that Dallas going to have to do in game 2. And I limit that fast break, man. Limit those fast break points. Make them work that half
for
court
every
set.
point.
Make them work in Missoula's half court set. Make them work that.
Now they can play in that, but make them do it and make them bleed that clock.
They wasn't doing it that much. They was just breaking. They was running. They was laying it up.
They played right into Boston's hands, and I pointed this out at the before we started recording. Dallas didn't score a 30-point quarter, not once. First quarter, 20. Second quarter, 22. Third quarter, 24. Fourth quarter, 23. Like, wow. Like, we knew Boston's defense was good. Their defense is
Top
good
3.
at home.
Right. Yeah.
But damn. Like, are you serious? They couldn't even score 25 points in a quarter.
And I was just checking historically for us this season alone with Dallas Mavericks. If they don't have at least a 30-point quarter,
they can't win.
They can't win.
They can't win. I don't think any team this year has won any games, especially in the playoffs, without at least scoring 1 or 2 30-point quarters, or you have to have like a few quarters to where you have 20 to 10 runs, 20 to 8 runs, etc. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have those kind of runs and play well. Now, like I said, it looked like towards the end of the game that they found their defensive footing, because they held Boston after holding Boston to 37 points in the first quarter, which is terrible. And then they allowed 26 points in the second quarter, which isn't bad. That's not bad. Then they held them to 23 and 21. So that was solid defense. But like I said, I don't know, because I didn't get a chance to watch the whole second half. I'm not sure if that was just Boston taking their foot off the gas, or was that Dallas has figured something out. That will still remain to be seen tonight.
And that's what I love in a 7-game basketball scenario, because it's a lot of adjustments, and Jason Kidd, he's masterful at just – far as in game, but game to game, he adjusts great, and I know he's going to have them guys ready. They seen something, like you said, and I guarantee you they'll exploit that. They're going to use that next game tonight.
All right. Well, speaking of game 2, all right. So, still in Boston. Boston's up 1-0. What besides what you just said, what does Dallas, because you've already stated, You've already stated that they need to shut down the fast break, right?
Yeah.
They just allow Boston to get out and run the field, run the court as much as they wanted.
That's game one. I call it game one jitters.
Okay.
That's, now both teams got that game one out their system.
Well, because the only person on Dallas's team that has been here is Kyrie, but he also disappeared. Like Luka looked like he has been here before, and he hasn't. This is his first time. But he looked comfortable out there, especially with all his injuries and everything that he's had, all the turmoil that he's had to deal with, or the plight that he's had to deal with getting to this game. He looked like he was ready to play. Everybody else looked like they was shy, like they was out there playing shy. Can't do that. Can't be scared. Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. They got to get Boston bigs out the paint.
Okay. Okay, because you did say shut down the fast break. You said what was the other thing you said? That Luka, obviously, I mean not Luka. Excuse me, Kyrie needs to play better.
Right.
What else do they need to do?
What do Dallas need to do?
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, just tighten up. For us, like they did during the second half.
Mm-hmm.
They tighten up. They just need to bring that into game two, and just keep their bigs, keep Horford and keep. Porzingis, keep them out the paint. Whatchamacallit was feast. I know they got lively. They got it. It's going to be a tough
Al Horford
task.
didn't really kill him though. I mean, he did in the sense that he almost had a double-double.
Well, no, but as the game, when I was watching it, they was going inside a lot.
Bro, it was their backcourt. Like, I think that backcourt heard, how Luka and Kyrie are the best scoring backcourt, best backcourt ever, et cetera, et cetera. They heard all of that. Mm-hmm. They heard all of that coming into this game. Dropped 15 and 12 on him. Like, they didn't go off on him. Luka still dropped 30 points, but who's going to guard Luka? I think it was a team effort to shut down Kyrie and allow Luka to go off. That's what the numbers bear out. Now,
I think it was just Kyrie had an off. I mean, that was their plan. That was Boston plan, and we talked about that. Remember, we talked about that last time. If they was going to pick one of the two, they was going to
shut down Kyrie.
Yeah, we talked about that, and that's what they did. But I think
because you're not shutting down Luka.
No, you can't. I would go for the guy that has the most playoff experience anyway.
Yeah. Luka Doncic is too big for any guard to guard him. Mm-hmm. He's too big, and he's too quick and too fast for any big to guard him. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't. You're not gonna slow him down. But Kyrie, you can put a bigger guard on him and slow him down. You can't stop him, but you can slow him down, make him have to change and adjust. If you keep throwing different, larger defenders at him, he's going to tend to make a few more mistakes, right? Just like anybody, he's human. He is a killer. Don't get it twisted. Kyrie can come back in this game and drop 40 on him.
He will.
He can.
I don't know about 40, but the thing is, he gonna bounce back. Jason Kidd gonna have those guys bouncing back.
Well, I guess my point is that Derek White and Drew Holiday are both bigger guards. Like, Drew Holiday doesn't have a lot of height. He's about the same height as Kyrie, but he's way thicker. He's like a tree trunk of a man. And he, having them switch off on him, I could see getting frustrated and only dropping 12 points. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then to have, I'm pretty sure they didn't put, like, Pritchard. Boston wasn't dumb enough to put Pritchard on Irving or, anybody like that would cause an issue. But basically, Kyrie Irving is going to have to step up and step in this game. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The way you shut down Boston is you get them out of their game, and Dallas played into Boston's game. They did exactly what they wanted. Boston wanted them to do, and then once they, it was kind of like a Venus flytrap. The minute that they noticed, we're playing into their game, it was too late. It was way too late. You did slow them down in the third and fourth quarter, held them to only, like, 44 points in the whole second half. But that was too little too late. That was way too little too late. And they lost this game in the second or in the first half. They lost this game There was no way they would be able to exert
First
enough
quarter.
energy. I agree. It was kind of they got mollywopped in the first quarter. They really did.
It was like a first quarter playoff series.
And what's that old Mike Tyson saying? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Well, the Mavericks got punched twice hard, and they flinched. They folded. They fell down. They couldn't get up before the standing 8 count. They were done.
Damn, they fell and they couldn't get up.
They could not get up, dog. Like they had a puncher's chance in this game 1 as it is. They really did. They had a puncher's chance, and then they decided to just fold like origami, man. Like, I don't know what they were doing or what they were thinking in that first half.
It's going to be you're going to see a night and day game tonight. I don't know. I'm not going to predict a win for Dallas, but
at least make it competitive.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole reason why I didn't watch the rest of the game. It's like, you know what, I got better stuff to do than to watch Dallas get blown out by Boston.
Yeah, I was just
and if they lose,
my eyes was like turning, seeing all those
that's just because you hate Boston.
Seeing those fans, and it's like, if y'all not winning or doing anything, I might as well just turn off. If they was beating Boston in the TD Garden, I can bear seeing the fans.
Well, if it was just a competitive game. They got blown out by 17 points in that first quarter, my guy. Like, that's a ridiculous amount in a game 1 in the finals. Like, even Miami against the Nuggets last year didn't do that. I don't think there's been a more lopsided game 1 in my recent memory or in memory, like, in history that I could think of in a game 1 in the finals that was so lopsided.
Oh, I know a few. But
do you?
Yeah, I'm older, so
That's fair.
I'm
not going to argue with that.
I have some vintage recollections, especially during the '80s with the Celtics.
Well, all I know is this, my guy. All I know is this: Dallas better win tonight, or at least make it competitive. Because if they let Boston eat their cornbread tonight, if they let them eat,
why would you say that?
Maybe I should eat your cornbread.
Why would you say that?
Because that's what they did to them in game 1.
No.
They just took their cornbread. Now, if Dallas loses tonight, they're going to be washing their drawers. They're going to be doing everything.
Who's the color commentator for Boston Celtics?
I'm not sure.
Cornbread Maxwell.
Oh, so man, I forgot about that. I forgot about
Cedric Cornbread Maxwell. And then he's like bringing up corn. So you probably already jinxed it.
Hey, man, all I know is you can't be scared out there. Like, Dallas is playing scared. And if they come out and lose tonight,
they
might win one game in this series and the series is over.
I already scheduled my, psychiatrist appointment because I already know Boston about to win an 18 championship. And you know how they talk. They going to be talking probably until whenever.
So you still didn't get that they going to eat their cornbread reference, huh?
I did.
The life with
Eddie, yeah, I did. But, I just – in that instance.
No, that was good. I forgot about the tie-in with cornbread being their color commentator.
I was like, did he know?
Nah, that was
like,
good.
Bro.
I mean, I did know, but I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it when I said it.
No, that's genius. I was like, if he knew, I was like.
I can't take credit for that genius. That was just
that was Destiny's?
Yeah, I just kind of stepped into that one. I'm not going to take credit.
That was awesome. I was like, man, that was.
That was pure coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not that smart. But I mean, to back to my point though, like honestly, if they allow them to come out and eat their lunch, like just punk them. If they come out and just allow Boston to punk them again, you're done. Mm-hmm. This might even be a sweep in the finals. I know the NBA wouldn't like that. That's not revenue conscious, but man, if you come out and you lose again, the way they lost in game 1, that's just going to be terrible, man. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. And everybody knew Boston was going to beat you, but come on, man. You can't, man, I'm telling you, they look like in the first half they was just grabbing ankles and just like we're good. We're good.
So and another thing is favored Boston too, far as the scheduling. I'm saying the scheduling is just, it's just
Yeah,
spread
they're getting
out.
a lot of love between game 1 and game 2, aren't they?
So Boston,
So any adjustments Dallas might have made,
they forgot.
well, not forgot, but any adjustments that they made in that second half of game 1, you've kind of given your cards away. Like, I honestly, you lost game 1. You lost game 1, and that effort that they gave in the second half to win that game was commendable, but you kind of get, it's kind of like what Miami did last year, or even the Lakers against the Nuggets. Like in the first 2 games, they showed all of their hands, like, oh, we made some adjustments, we got this, and then it's like, oh, well, we've got 3 days to make adjustments to your adjustments.
Right.
So now they have 2 days, Boston does.
So Missoula, if I'm Missoula, I'm telling my team, I'm looking at the second half and say, all right, guys.
Throw everything out of game 1 out the window.
They're going to try this. Expect for this to happen in game 2 at the jump.
Yeah, agreed.
What they did in the second half.
Right.
And that's just what you have to do. That's what I'm thinking he's going to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it's too much of a layover, far as the games are in the finals.
Well, no, it does. The schedule does favor Boston.
Right.
You're right, because of the fact, like I said,
They've been there.
They've been there. Well, they haven't been here. Well, no, they have been here. That's right. They have. They lost, but they've been there.
They've been there against Golden State. But so they know as a team they've been there. So
yeah, they're gonna try to kill you tonight and take your soul. Like, they're gonna try to take your soul. And if you don't step up, and at least make this game competitive, like, and I mean competitive, like, you need to if you lose, it needs to be under 10 points. Under 10 points. Anything over 10 points, even 11, 12 points loss, means that you cannot beat this team. You are not going to beat this team, and you have now showed your hand in game 2. If you come out tonight with all of the adjustments from game 1 in the second half, and you lose this game with those adjustments without making any more adjustments, you're going to lose this series, Dallas. And I'm sorry, Dallas fan, you are going to lose this series. And I kind of wanted you to win. I'd like to see Luka and Dallas get another ring. Even though I'm a Nuggets fan, like, they're not a bad team. Luka's not a bad guy. He's competitive. He plays the game the way the game is supposed to be played to a certain extent, and he can play it like Americans play it. Like, he's that hybrid European player, because he reminds me. He plays still with that fundamental style that Europeans play with, but he also still has that flash panache and
like Larry Bird.
Larry wasn't really flashy, though. He just talked a lot of crap on the court. He wasn't really flashy with what he was doing, though. Luka, like, when he makes a big shot, he turns around. He's when he dunks on somebody, he's doing what the Americans do. Unlike Jokic, Jokic is that prototypical European player. He's going to do something. It's going to be flashy to a certain extent, but it's going to be, within the parameters of team ball, or, it's like very.
That's his personality, though.
Right. But that's my point. That's my point is Luka he's a European player, but he still has that, like, he grew up in Rucker Park mentality. You know what I mean? Like, he still has that American, I'm going to talk crap the entire game, but I'm also going to be flashy. I'm also going to be, he has that I think that's why a lot of people want him to be the new face of the NBA. A lot of people have been saying that he's the new face. I do not believe that per se.
He could.
But he could be.
If he want. And right now, he don't want that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still that European player that still plays fundamental basketball. But it's crazy how good that dude is and the size of body that he has. Like, think about if Luka Doncic actually took care of himself. Like, I remember, and I don't want to go too much off on a tangent of Luka Doncic, but I remember when Jokic kept coming in to the season and he was just big. He was big and bulky. Didn't really work out over the summer, came in out of shape, kind of got into shape during the season, got better as the season went along, but realized that that's not championship mentality. But the minute it clicked in his mind that, I need to keep working out in the off season and not come in all chubby and out of shape, that's when the Nuggets won their championship. So I think Luka Doncic is going to realize that he needs to take care of his body and not just to not be injury prone, but to literally make sure that his body is in shape so that he doesn't stay injury prone, right?
Right.
Because a lot of his injuries and stuff like that, his knees, his ankles, all of that could be a weight problem. I know who am I to be talking about somebody having a weight problem, but I don't make millions of dollars playing basketball. So, if I was Luka Doncic, I honestly would spend more time sculpting my body than I would anything else.
He will.
And once he does,
he will.
Watch out. The man's dropped 30 with one leg in game 1 of the finals. He's only got one leg, like he's hurting on the other leg. He's got one leg and he still dropped 30 on a top 3 defensive team in the league. If not, I know Minnesota was touted as the best defensive.
The rating they were.
Yeah, but they were also they're big in stature and let's just be honest, ladies and gentlemen, Minnesota plays a lot of dirty ball. They get away with a lot of dirty crap. They grab, they push, they prod. They would
have been perfect in this series.
Yeah, it would have been a crazy, crazy defensive game, but it also might have been boring. As I was about to cuss. Might have been really, really boring though. And I'm just keeping it real. That might not that this isn't boring to watch another team get blown out. I'll give you that. I did expect Dallas to come out and make it competitive, but you got to also keep in mind Boston is a 64-win team. Dallas is a 50-win team. Dallas had to go through the gauntlet of the West. Boston did not. And Boston is probably more hungry than Dallas. They lost in the finals. What was it, 7 years ago to Golden State, like you said?
No, it was in 2022.
Was it? Okay, so 2 years ago. Yeah. But they've been to the Eastern Finals several times. Couldn't get past it. This is only the second time that they've gotten past the Eastern Conference Finals. They know now, like you said, they've got the blueprint now, and they're going to execute that blueprint to a T. And Dallas, again, I reiterate, you are going to have to play perfect basketball. On top of perfect basketball, you are going to need your 2 stars to play perfect basketball. You cannot have Kyrie only scoring 12 points and expect to win a basketball game, especially when it was the Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving show that got you there. It was the scoring of that backcourt that got you to the point you're at now. You can't allow Boston to shut down Kyrie, man. You guys are going to have to figure out a way to scheme him open, maybe get him some more looks with the bench. You know what I mean? But even the bench, when they did get Kyrie in with the bench defense was slowing him down. That's why he only scored 12 points. He couldn't even score against the second string of Boston. But we discussed that, right, last week. We discussed how Boston's second string could also be starters on another team. They have 12 straight guys they can throw at you in waves, and there's nothing you could do. With the exception of play perfect basketball. And I hate saying that because nothing is perfect, but you can't have more than 3 or 4 turnovers against Boston. You can't have Boston out on the fast break, all the time. They basically didn't have to play a set defense until the second half. Boston didn't have to play against a set defense until the second half. All they played against was Dallas's transitional defense, and Dallas doesn't really have a transitional defense. Their defensive style, they're a tough defensive team. That's how they got to the finals.
Yeah, but you ain't talking about you're talking about man-to-man, coverage
right,
and stuff like that. Before.
Boston can man you up, man-to-man, match you all the way through your top 12. Dallas can't do that. Dallas is a good defensive team, but they're not great by any means, because if they were great, they'd have at least 10 more wins from the regular season. But they don't. They have 50 wins, and they're a 50-win team. They're a, 5 in the West, probably the number 2 in the East, though.
No.
But right now they're not showing that, though. They're not showing that. And they need to show up. Kyrie needs to show up. Their bench needs to step up and show out this game. Game 2 is pivotal for them right now. It is going to, Game 1 set the tone. Game 2 is going to tell us exactly how this series is going to go. If Boston comes out and just punches them in the mouth again and Dallas lays down again, this series is over in 5. It's not going past 5. There's no way. You will not be able to convince me that this game will go more than 5 games. Because Dallas might win one at home because. But they're not going to win more than just one game. Period. They gotta make tonight competitive, under 10 points, and they have to, if not outright win. I don't care if you win by 1 point. You got to make a statement this game that you are not going to just allow Boston to, play Big Brother and eat your cornbread, because they was greasing Friday night. They was all over them. But we got to get our money's worth. We got to get our money's worth out of this series.
Shoot,
so please, Dallas, let us get our.
I ain't paying to see nothing like that.
Well, as a fan, you want to get your money's worth on watching a game. I love basketball, but I love competitive basketball. I don't like basketball to where one team is just not playing well, and the other team is firing on all the cylinders. Nobody likes that. That's an ugly brand of basketball. So please, Dallas, step up, get us our money's worth. Speaking of money's worth, so we're going to switch gears here. We're going to go into the NFL.
These little segues. I like how you just tie stuff in. Speaking of money.
Speaking of monies.
Speaking of money.
You want to pay me? No.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel.
So we were, yeah, for sure.
Click like, subscribe.
Yes, we did. Good job, Larry. Good job doing the laundry today. Good job. So we do have a YouTube channel. Follow us. Make sure that you follow us, the Sportz Phenz. Subscribe and show us some love, man. Tell your friends.
Yes.
All right, so in the NFL, there has been a bit of a lopsidedness when it comes to money, but it has been a little more lopsided when it comes to money when it comes to quarterbacks, right?
Right.
There's been a certain stigma, for lack of a better term, of, African American or black quarterbacks are not getting paid the same as their European American counterparts, okay? And Tua is one of those quarterbacks that, if you compare him to quarterbacks that came out in his exact same era, like drafted with him, Joe Burrow, etc. There's been a few guys that came out the same year he did. And if you compare their stats, they're similar, if not he has better stats, right?
Right. Yeah, and I was just looking at his stats last year, over 4,600, yards, and for how many touchdowns? 29? 29
TDs. I think he had like 14 INTs, and I don't know any team that wouldn't take those numbers. I know I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and I would take Tua hands down over Kyler Murray. Now, I don't know if I would take him over Burrow. I don't know if I would take him over, even Goff or anybody. But, the comparison that we're about to make, or excuse me, that we didn't make, that Donovan McNabb tells Kay Adams of FanDuel TV, he believes that Tua deserves more than Goff. So let's see what Mr. Donovan McNabb had to say to Kay Adams on FanDuel TV, courtesy of Bleacher Report.
He talked about the current state of his contract deal with the Dolphins. He was asked about how he views the contract that Jared Goff got when it comes to his own. Listen to what he said.
I'm not blind to people that, are in my position that are getting paid. I'll tell you one thing, the market is the market. If we didn't have a market, then none of that would matter. It'd just be an organizational thing, Didn't matter if that guy got paid that, because it's up to the organization. So That's what I would say. The market is the market. That's it.
I mean, he's not wrong. Market's the market. Take
He's
a
not
look.
wrong.
Yeah, here's the highest paid
Absolutely.
quarterbacks. So take a look at
Right.
these. When you look at this full screen and you hear what he has to say, if you're Chris Greer, the Dolphins GM, what would you pay him?
I mean, first of all, let me go if I'm Tua, and I've been into a situation. I'm getting paid what the market values me to be getting paid. And the same with Dak Prescott. And the whole thing about it, which is funny, is we want to pick and choose who gets paid. But then when some of these guys in that list that you just know, how many of those kids don't have a playoff win?
Let's see.
How many of those quarterbacks have never been to the playoffs? You look at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, we've been talking about Justin Herbert as if he was the up-and-coming Tom Brady. Justin Herbert doesn't have a playoff win. You know, Kyler Murray doesn't have a playoff win. Lamar and Jalen have done great things. We were talking Jared Goff when he came out of with the Rams organization, and we thought he was just all for naught. Well, they thought that Detroit was going to draft Tua in that draft, but they decided not to, and Jared Goff has now elevated his game. And then I've been saying Joe Burrow's the second best quarterback in the league, but Joe Burrow can't stay healthy. And so if you can't make the club, you can't make the club in the tub. You know, so now what happens if this continues to happen in the next 2 to 3 years and Joe Burrow is hurt? So I just think for the way the market is valued the quarterbacks, and it's all really the league that's boosted all of this to happen. Because you forgot to even add Daniel Jones in that list, who's making over $40 million. And when he got paid, nobody really said much. And then it was like, wait a minute. What has he done? And so I just think for quarterbacks, when you come up and it's time and what we've seen a healthy Tua do with this organization, I think he deserves at least $50 million.
So more than Jared Goff.
Well, it's the timing of it all. It's the timing of it all. So I will say yes, only because, one, he's younger. Two, he's on a football team that's balanced all around. So you would think the success is on the rise. And so what happens, okay, let's just say, what happens if Jared Goff finishes second in the North, loses in the second round, and Tua goes to the AFC Championship? Will we be saying the same thing if he doesn't get a contract this year? And now all of a sudden you waited till he made it to the AFC Championship. You know what that price tag is going to be? It's going to be a whole lot more than what he's probably trying to get now. So I just think they better think about that at this particular point, because you just paid Waddle. Tariq Hill's looking for a new deal, and then you don't have to have your quarterback taken care of. Yeah, that sounds like nonsense to me.
All right. I mean, man, that's some powerful stuff right there, my guy. Like, how does that sit with you? Like, do you agree? Do you disagree with Mr. McNabb? Like, he's one of the greats, not all-time greats, but he's a great, and you know, I value his opinion. But what say you?
It's definitely a Philadelphia great.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as that, I definitely agree with him. You know what I'm saying? You know, just like Tua was saying, the market dictates. You know, and like, I definitely agree. I mean, his stats this year definitely garners that 50, you know, but from an organizational standpoint, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm like, you know, show me more. You know, show me more than, because like you said prior, you know, that was the first basically full season he played.
And that's fair. Since
being drafted in 2020.
That's fair, but if you don't sign him now,
just like he said.
Yeah.
Just
like
he
when
said.
he does get to that AFC Championship.
It's going to be more.
When he does get to that Super Bowl, if he wins either one, that price tag now just went from 50 to 55 to 60. So I agree with Donovan McNabb in the sense that now I don't agree with him that he should be paid more than Goff just because of, you know, because Goff is who Goff is. That I disagree with. But what I do agree with him on is that Tua has played well enough to garner the wage that he's requesting, and if you don't pay it, he's either going to get it from another team, or the price tag is going to be too high for you come a year from now. Like this year, last year they were really close to making it to the AFC Championship. Like they just needed to tweak their defense a little bit. Their defense kind of failed them a little bit.
That's when, as an owner, I'm going to sit down with the GM and I'm going to sit down with the coach. You know, we're going to all wrap our heads together. We'll wrap our heads around this and say, do we think going forward, knowing this history, do we think he's going to garner that amount? Is he worth it? Are we going to roll a dice with him?
In the long run, yeah. And what I disagreed with Miss Kay Adams said, or I mean, I guess I didn't disagree with what she said. I guess I disagree with the question she posed. She asked McNabb, do you feel like he should be paid even more than Goff? And I don't think that's a comparable comparison. Well, it's not, because Goff has been in the league for quite a while. Donovan McNabb in that clip pointed it out that, you know, Tua's younger. He's younger. So I think the more comparable guys to him would be Burrow, Herbert, who plays for the Cardinals. Why can't I think of his name?
I can't right now.
Hold on, I know his name. It's going to drive me nuts though until I get it. Oh my goodness, what is the Cardinals?
Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. I'm going to let you go after that, cornbread.
You got jokes.
Go there. Chase that name like it's a piece of cornbread, boy.
You stupid. Oh, man, what is this man's name? Why can't I think of it? It's going to drive me nuts now.
Keep on. You have me looking for it, too.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, they show Kyler Murray. God dang. It took me forever to come up with his name, but it's Kyler Murray. He definitely should be compared to Kyler Murray. He definitely should be compared to Joe Burrow. He should be compared to Herbert. He should be compared to the quarterback that's in Buffalo Bills. Well, not just necessarily his class, but of his era. Goff is not from his era, right? And if that's what you mean by like his class, is like the guys that were drafted like 2 years before him, 2 years after him, that's his class, right? Or his era of quarterbacks. That's who he should be compared to. And if I were to compare him to Joe Burrow right now, head to head, Joe Burrow has beaten Tua. Okay, so head to head, Burrow's 1-0. But you were talking about how if you were the organization, you're thinking to yourself, show me more, right? Because I had said last year was the full first season that he's done.
Right.
Okay, now with that said, how many games played do you think Tua has played over the course of his career right now?
We're at 2024. I would say in that time, including last year altogether, we'll say a good 25.
Actually, it's 53.
53?
53 games, because you got to remember there's 17 games.
Right.
And he's missed some games.
Right, he missed a lot of games.
He's missed some games, right? So he's only played 53 games. He's only played one full season of 17 games. That was last season. They did make the playoffs, and I believe that they won a playoff game. Don't quote me on that, but they at least made the playoffs for the first time in his first full season. Now, how many games do you think Joe Burrow has played? And I believe they came out the same year.
They did come out the same year. I would say about, you said 50? For
Tua is 53.
53?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Burrow.
Don't look it up. Give me a guess.
Man, I'm horrible at guessing.
Just throw a number out there.
I don't know, 40?
No, actually, he has played less than Tua, though. Believe it or not.
Right.
He's played one game less, so 52.
Okay, well.
So they would be comparable, right?
Right.
So if Joe Burrow's supposed to get the top tier money, he's played one less game than Tua. In that one less game, Tua has won. I think so Burrow has 2 percentile higher completion rating.
But Burrow has a better head-to-head. You know.
I mean, he's 1-0. It's not like they've played 10 games and he's won 9 of them. They've played one game against each other, and he won that game. Both have been to the Pro Bowl once. Let's see. Their QB rating is almost exactly the same. Now Burrow now here's where they would differentiate to me, okay? Is Tua is kind of a China, even though Burrow has been just as injured, obviously he's played less games, right? The reason why Burrow is injured all the time is because Burrow runs the ball. He actually does run the ball. Over the course of his career, he has 605 rushing yards. That almost doubles the rushing yards for Tua.
I know, but yeah, before it's like Tua's concerned, you know what I'm saying? His team is one of the main culprits of him.
They weren't protecting him in his first 2 years. It wasn't even that he couldn't run the ball. He can run the ball. He's a good sized guy. He's not small. But he was getting like blindside hit. He was taking those ginormous hits to the head.
He was getting whacked.
I mean, not last year, but the year before when he got 2 concussions. That one where he was on the ground and his hands were like, man, that was scary. That was really scary to watch, even as a fan. Like, I know if I was his family, I would be mortified. Like, to see on live national television your child, cousin, brother, son, on the field, and it looks like he's literally going into convulsions from a hit, that would be tough. So that's where I would say that they differ in as a quarterback. But I mean, even with that, Joe Burrow has that 605 rushing yards, but yet he only has 4 more rushing touchdowns than Tua, right? So Tua still, to me, is pretty comparable to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I agree.
Now let's see. Let's compare him to another quarterback. Who did we say? We said Murray.
Yeah, from Cardinals.
Yep. Let's see what he compares. Let's see what he compares to Mr. Kyler.
That's right.
Because if you ask me, those two are the most comparable.
Not Herbert?
No, I'm talking about because of their style of play.
Okay.
Isn't Kyler Murray a left-handed quarterback too?
Yeah.
So they're both left-handed quarterbacks. I think Tua's a little bit bigger in stature than Kyler, but they have very similar styles of play. They can move in the pocket. They extend the play a lot. I think Tua's a little smarter of a quarterback than Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's a backyard brawler football player. He doesn't really study his plays and stuff like that. He reminds me
more
of
improvised.
He reminds me a lot of like Tebow, except for he actually can throw the ball. That's the difference between them. But they're like playmakers. They're not really cognitive players like a Manning or a Tom Brady or
Cerebral.
They're just not that type of quarterback. They're definitely more of we're going to make it up as we go along. But Tua is more of that cognitive quarterback than Kyler Murray is, right? So Kyler Murray in this comparison has stayed healthier, so he's played 65 games. Passing yards, he does have more than Tua. That was one thing we forgot to look at in comparison. Look at do me a favor while I'm reading this off. Look up who did we just compare him to? God dog, my memory.
Kyler Murray?
No. We're comparing him to Kyler Murray now. We compared him to not Herbert, but Burrow. Thank you. I'm losing my mind in my old age, man. But yeah, back to my point. Like, so he does have more, like almost about 3,000 more passing yards than Tua. Now, granted, Kyler Murray has benefited from having, better receivers than Tua up until now, because Tua didn't have the great receivers he had his entire, 4 or 5 years in the league. He didn't get them until last year and the year before. And then the year before, he had those 2 concussions, so we really couldn't see what the Dolphins could do. But last year, the Dolphins' offense was breaking records. I mean, what they did to my Broncos was ridiculous.
Shoot, what they did to the Raiders.
It was ridiculous. What they did to everybody last year, except for in the playoffs, was ridiculous. Even against top-tier defenses, they were putting up numbers, man. And it was excuse me, it was crazy. But the passing yards per game when it comes to Kyler Murray and Tua are comparable. I mean, Kyler Murray only has like two more. It's 240.7 for Kyler Murray and 238.5 for Tua. So very, very, very comparable. So when Tua says the market is the market, that's what he's talking about. He's not being arrogant. He's not telling.
No,
he's not. But some people are taking it that way, and I've seen reports where people are like, "Oh, he thinks he deserves this, or he's entitled, and all of this stuff." And it's like, no. If you look at the numbers, if you actually break down the numbers, he is not only comparable to all the quarterbacks from his era or from his draft, but he exceeds them in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'll just say pay him. Just pay him.
Just pay him, man.
Give
him his bag. Keep him there. Now, you may have to downgrade in the wide receiver spot. You may have to do what the Chiefs did, and be like, hey, the quarterback is the quarterback. We're going to invest in him. We're not going to invest in the wide receivers as much. And, their football team, needs the quarterback more than they need wide receivers. Now, he does need good wide receivers, but does he need great at this point? Like, and what I mean is that like a Tyreek Hill is going to want his money, but do you pay him or do you pay Tua? Because you can, now granted, I'm about to make a statement that probably sounds foolish because Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill, right? You can't find another Tyreek Hill. But the Chiefs managed to find another way around not having a Tyreek Hill, right? They figured out ways. They use their tight end now instead of, going over coverage with their speedster. They use their tight end to break zone coverages and push teams into man-to-man so that they can go over the top.
So do you think that the offensive coaching staff for the Miami Dolphins have the whereabouts to kind of finagle to, do?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, you've got to think that the Chiefs have one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Right.
Like they really do. And I'm not saying that Mike McDaniels is not a great coach. He clearly has this offense firing on all cylinders, but he doesn't have the experience. He hasn't even been to a Super Bowl yet, or at least not as a head coach.
So I would say at this point.
And Andy Reid had been to a Super Bowl with Philly, right?
Right.
And he has won Super Bowls.
Right.
So he has that experience. So you're right.
I would say no. Yeah, I would say no.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say no. We have to. It remains to be seen, right?
Right. So pay the man his money.
Yeah. I mean, I still feel like the gamble and the bet is on your quarterback. Now, granted, Tyreek Hill has longevity. He doesn't get injured as much and all of that. But if I were to do it, I would pay Tua, right? And then invest in his offensive line to protect him, right?
Yeah.
And then you can get, above average or average wide receivers, kind of similar to what the Broncos did in the 90s when they won their Super Bowls, right? They invested in John Elway, but McCaffrey and Rod Smith were not star players. They were star players here, right? They were great players here, but they weren't, they may be Ring of Famers. They're not Hall of Famers.
Right.
On any other team, they would have been like the second or third option, but they were the number one and number two option because you had John Elway, right? So you didn't need to have top tier, wide receivers in order to win a Super Bowl. And they won back-to-back with those receivers. Now, granted, what they did is they invested in their offensive and defensive line, and then they downgraded in their secondary and wide receivers. That's how they won those Super Bowls. They were able to get after the quarterback and they had the best quarterback of the time. Right? That's what you need to do to win a Super Bowl, at least in that era. Now it's a little bit different, but in that era, that's what you needed, right?
Yeah.
And before that, you needed to stop the run, right? Because it was a running back thing in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, now you got to stop the pass. You just got to,
Well, kind of John Elway kind of ushered that era in, if you ask me, that to where you have to, yes, because the focus wasn't really on the quarterback until that era. Like, even though he came from that 80s era, it was all about the running backs. John Elway was kind of the guy that pushed that narrative, like, it's all about the quarterback.
So are we talking about the era as far as, like, his era of quarterbacks, right?
Correct.
So we talking about Dan Marino.
Correct.
Because that's why I'm thinking Dan Marino was more of that way.
I'm saying, but their era
right.
kind of pushed not just John Elway. Yes,
Okay,
let me rephrase.
Right.
Their era of quarterback ushered in what we have today.
That makes more sense.
Okay. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. My bad. I guess I could be a little more clearer on that. But not just him in specific.
Okay, yeah.
But his era of quarterback.
That's true.
Kind of ushered in that the quarterback is the most important piece, and then it went away from the running back.
I 110% agree with that, because that was my favorite era for us quarterbacking, because I remember Boomer Esiason when he was with the Bengals at that time.
Warren Moon.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Troy Aikman.
McNabb.
Troy.
Yeah, Aikman. Aikman was one of the greats of our time.
Yeah, so that was a great time, like you said.
Yeah, it was a great time, but they're the ones that kind of ushered in that era of you need to have the best quarterback, and then you also need to have the best person to get at the quarterback. The Broncos during that time, the Dallas Cowboys during that time. Now, I can't say that Miami during that time was the same, because they didn't have they
didn't have nobody to get at.
Deep.
No,
I mean, they had like Patrick Surtain and all of that stuff, but I think he came a little bit later,
right?
Than that era of the 90 to 2000. I think he came in right at the late 2000s is when Patrick Surtain came in. So Miami wasn't known for their defensive prowess during that time. The Denver Broncos were. I mean, they had the Orange Crush defense. They were able to get after you, man, oh man, their linebackers.
Who was the? Because I'm thinking whatchamacallit comes to my mind. Buffalo,
Buffalo had all-stars and
what was his
Hall
name?
of Famers.
What was it?
Bruce Smith.
Bruce Smith.
Right.
Smith,
so that's why they won so many games. They had the best guy to get your quarterback, and they had the best quarterback at the time.
Yep.
Right. He got to 4 Super Bowl. He lost all 4 of them, but they got to the when Green Bay won theirs. They had Reggie White. And then they had
Brett
Favre on the other end. That's how you won during that era. You had to be the best to get at the quarterback. You had to have the best quarterback. And now that is more now so than ever. Like, it really is. And so that's why to McNabb's point, you're going to want to pay Tua. And you're going to want to walk away from a Tyreek Hill. Very professional, Larry. You're going to want to walk away from a Tyreek. I'm hearing voices. Jesus, is that you? I'm coming home to you, Elizabeth.
That's Vinny's. That's Vinny's barbecue.
It is Sunday.
It is.
Okay, so that's why I would be preaching. I would be preaching to the Miami Dolphins staff, like, hey man, you need to figure out how to keep this quarterback. Maybe not keep him happy, but you definitely. Most teams that have won Super Bowls, especially in the era from 2000 till now, have had the best quarterback. Period. There's only been 1 or 2 times to where I think that was when the Bucs won their first Super Bowl. They had Brad Johnson or whatever his name was.
You got it right.
So he wasn't the greatest quarterback of that time. They won by defense. Their defense won that Super Bowl for them.
Sapp and them?
Yes. Anybody to argue that, I'll die on that hill. Like, I'll die on that hill. He did not win that Super Bowl for him. He just didn't lose it for him either.
I ain't trying to die.
I'll die on that hill all day. Because Brad Johnson did not win that Super Bowl. And there's been a couple of others to where, similar to Brad Johnson, to where I think even Baltimore, when they won, it was their defense, their first Super Bowl that they won.
Yeah,
it was their defense with Ray Lewis that won that game. It wasn't their quarterback. It wasn't even their offensive play. It was their defense you could not score on, period. They were a bend but don't break defense. They would allow you to get field goals and field goals alone, and you can't win games that way, period. You just can't. But with that said, give Tua his money, pay that man, and then figure out a way to downgrade your secondary, because you can scheme. You can scheme with most wide receivers and stuff right now. You can scheme your way with good, solid, average secondary. As long as you got at least one above average safety and one above average corner, you can basically match up against any team. You need to upgrade. Miami definitely needs to upgrade on their defensive line, and they need to make sure that they're putting their money on the offensive line to protect Tua. And I'm sorry, Tyreek Hill, love you to death, my guy, but you're going to have to find your creme de la creme, top bougie wide receiver money somewhere else. We're just not going to pay you. You're a great wide receiver. We're just not going to pay you. And then he's going to have to go to a team that has no chance of winning in order to get that bag. He's going to have to either take a discount, or he's going to have to go to a team like Washington or, Carolina or something like that, to where they're not really on the cusp of winning, but they have the money to pay you because they don't already have their quarterback, right?
Right.
They don't already have their quarterback. He's not going to be able to go to he might be able to go to Jacksonville and get that money and play with a pretty good quarterback, but they're still years away, at least 2 years away of actually being competitive coming out of Jacksonville, in my humble opinion. They do have their quarterback in place, but they don't have all the other pieces in place. They don't have any above average or at least average wide receivers for him to play with, and their defense is abysmal as it is, so they can't stop a nosebleed right now. So, he would have to go to that team. He would have to go to that team, or he would have to go to another team that just has no chance of winning a Super Bowl this year. With that said, just give Tua his money, damn it, Miami. Do the right thing.
I know, my computer crashed.
Pay that man. Pay that man his money.
That noise you was hearing, my computer just...
Whatever, man. Unprofessional.
It just shut down.
And with that said, pay Vinny his money when you come on down to So High Cafe.
Oh, I know all about that.
And yes, sir. Come on down, see Vinny. Make sure you get some ribs, some burn ends, and definitely try that mac and cheese, man. He's always hooking it up.
I know.
He has hot links. You're going to have to bring your own ranch, though, because the only person that has ranch in the building is this bougie MF right here.
That's mine. You better not. You're going to get a lot of back if you want some of that. If you want some of that ranch, you're going to get a lot of PJ.
But on behalf of me and the staff, myself and Larry, thank you for watching. Please subscribe on our new YouTube channel. And as always, peace and love, man. Just give peace and love to all. And let's watch some sports, man. I can't wait for football to start.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
I like that. That was a more sincere.
That was a good show.
More sincere.